Hi, I'm Gill Landry. Welcome to the Blues Kitchen.
Gill Landry is an American songwriter and musician born in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Last year saw the release of his awe-inspiring fourth album, Love Rides a Dark Horse. We discussed the recording of the album, his time in the Old Crow Medicine Show, playing on the streets of New Orleans, and Gill performs a version of I'm Satisfied by Mississippi John Hurt. And while you're watching, subscribe to the channel for regular episodes of The Blues Kitchen Presents. Gill.
Hello, Liam.
Welcome to The Blues Kitchen.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
Good.
How's your stint been in the UK thus far?
Great. Yeah.
Having a ball?
Having a lot of balls.
Funnily enough, we're in the room above where you played last night.
Yeah.
How did that one go?
Great. Yeah, it was fantastic.
And some of the Mumford boys come down to see you last night?
Yeah. Winston came down.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's have a bit of a chat about your record. It was out on ATO at the end of last year.
ATO, yeah.
I keep getting the words in the wrong order, but Love Rides a Dark Horse.
Yeah.
So I kind of get the impression, tell me if I'm wrong, maybe a little bit of a lonely record, and perhaps of the 4 solo albums you've made, kind of the biggest turning point as well. Would that be fair to say?
Cool. I don't really know how to rate it, except that it is pretty. It's what was the first thing you said? Lonely.
Yeah, it's solitary. And when I've read about your recording, you were in the cabin in Nashville or in Tennessee, and then out on the Pacific coast, and even in the Isle of Skye, I think.
Yeah. I did some vocals in the Isle of Skye because like traveling with my my rig or what I could of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also the first record you've done since fully leaving the Old Crow Medicine Show.
No.
As well.
Oh well, yeah. Yes. Yeah, because the other one I was recording it while I was still in the band. Yeah.
And when I say that it was like a lonely feeling record, was that a deliberate thing? Were you deliberately taking yourself away from like the old band relationships, getting out of busy cities so you had nothing else to worry about, just immerse yourself in creativity and writing?
Yeah, well, where I was living, I couldn't make noise, so I went and rented a place out in this place, a town, Whites Creek, and it's just a house out in the country, and then I just drug all my gear out there, so yeah. And then I did most of the writing in a friend's place on the coast of Washington in the winter when there was just nobody around, which was really nice.
Was it an enjoyable process, or was it a tough one?
It was both. It was really personal because it was related to a relationship that had ended, and yeah, so I wasn't even planning on writing in that time period at all. You know, everything just shifted. So it sort of was just happened. You know, it wasn't. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go to the Washington coast and write an album. It was like don't come home, and then it was like. So I just went to the Washington coast, and then I wrote an album while I was there, you know.
So your hand was almost forced, in a way.
In a way, yeah. And I'm thankful for that. You know, that was always nice to have a reason to create.
And when you're on the road, playing these tunes each night, is it still purging, or have you separated yourself?
I don't play the songs related to it. I play the other ones. So there's a few songs that I wrote that weren't like related to the feelings of that, because it was like kind of like a purging, you know, and once it was out, then it was, and I played a couple in Middlesbrough, actually, the other night.
Really?
Yeah, I met a pedal steel player at the Red Rooster Festival. We didn't even play together. He talked his way, he just was really insistent on playing with me. So he came up to Middlesbrough, we hadn't even played a note together, and we did this, and he nailed it. It was great. And so since he was doing so well, I was like, oh, well, let's try, because some of the songs are also really slow.
Yeah.
And so without accompaniment, they just feel like they drag on live. For me, anyway. Maybe the crowd's enjoying it, but I'm feeling like, oh my God, this is tedious. Like it needs some lift.
Was that almost like a little bit of a hark back to your street performing days on the streets of New Orleans, where you just pick up a musician and then you come?
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's nice.
Maybe we can have a bit of a chat about that, because that's kind of how you started out, really, wasn't it? Playing around the streets.
Exactly. That's how I started. Yeah, making it into a living. Yeah.
And was that New Orleans where that kind of started for you?
Yeah, well, I started in Oregon, actually, with a friend. We just played on the street, went to a festival. We just had nothing to do, and we sat down together and played. We were studying old folk music at the time together. And
when you say you're studying it for your own pleasure, not for any kind of academic reason?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we sat down and we made like $300 or something, which we hadn't.
So you're like the most amount.
We were making $50 a week, like collecting bottles or whatever we were doing. And so I was like, well, and then a friend, this guy, Baby Gramps, who lives in Seattle, gave me the number of a lady in New Orleans, and I went there that winter. And she took me in, and she was a bus. It was like her life. Her name was Lisa Driscoll, and she just passed last fall. She was
How sad.
broke them. Well, she had a great life. But yeah, it is sad. But she lived hard, and she was. I mean, if there's a real deal in the world, she was it. You know.
With the street musician thing in New Orleans, is it? Because I mean, I've been to New Orleans, but I haven't spent much time there.
Yeah.
And you see these people performing on the street, and there's an element of cutting your teeth so you can then get a real gig in bars or clubs. Is that fair to say? It's like, are you always aiming towards the next thing, or are you just happy to be playing in the streets and cleaning up at $300 a day? And
yeah, well, in New Orleans, it was the street at the time. I don't know if it's like this anymore because I left in 2000. I left right after Katrina.
Yeah.
Like I lived there before the storm, but at the time we were selling. People were still buying. I'd buy tons of CDs. So
really?
Yeah. Oh, we'd sell like 50 CDs in a set sometimes, which was
wow.
Wow is right because it's pretty amazing.
It's a good living.
It was a great living, and then if you got a gig in the club, so if you do Checkpoint Charlie's or something from like 10 to 3 in the morning, you'd make each guy'd make $50 maybe, and and you'd work your ass off, and nobody bought records because they're getting pissed.
Maybe you could tell us about the steps moving forward after this kind of large amount of time playing on the streets of New Orleans. How did you end up playing with the Old Crow Medicine Show? Did you meet them performing on the streets?
I met them in New Orleans in like 2000, I think it was around, and they were busking. And then I met them, and we got on great. We hung out for about 2 days, and then I didn't hear from them until about 3 years later. And then I got
really?
A friend of mine said, "Oh, they're looking for a guy," and I just flew out.
So. I don't mean to skip over it, but that was obviously a big part of your life. You toured with those guys for years.
Yeah.
Grammy nomination. Oh, you won Grammys with that band.
2 of
right?
them, yeah.
2 Grammys. So to fast forward a little bit, when did you really decide, I'm done, I want to take this off and do my own thing? Because that's a big, bold move.
Yeah, you tell me about it.
Kind of like dismantling things for yourself to kind of rebuild, if you like.
Yeah, when I finished that, the record before this one, and then the label wanted to pick it up. And you just can't be in 2 things, really. I mean, you can't give everything to one thing if you're in another thing. And the calling for me was stronger to do my own material than to keep doing that because they get on fine without me. So it's like no worries. Yeah.
So you're going to perform a Mississippi John Hurt tune for us. Yeah. Satisfied.
Yes.
What jumped out to you about his stuff?
But what it is it's the rhythm, it's the bounce of his playing. And it's just, and all those old recordings are so spooky the way they come out of and there's something about, and his voice is so gentle, and yet the language can be so hard. He was a cool, and he just seemed really like you'd want to, sit in his presence as long as you could, if you could.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember one of the first times I remember him stuff. My stepdad had a couple of compilations when I was quite young, maybe like 13 or 14, and what I thought, in comparison to the Robert Johnsons and Charlie Pattons and all that kind of stuff, is it felt like there's more melody in his
a lot more melody
songs than
and his playing as well. Yeah.
Exactly, and I would remember the songs. I think it was a really practical thing for me. It's like I just simply remembered them. Whereas it took me maybe 10 listens to remember a Robert Johnson tune. It would take me 2 or 3 max to have a Mississippi John Hurt tune.
Yeah. They catch you in that way. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's time for a performance.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
If you'd be kind enough to introduce your tune.
Hi, my name is Gill Landry. I'm going to be playing Mississippi John Hurt's Satisfied. Country on a high lonesome hill, crow by day and by night the whippoorwill. I used to live in the country on a high lonesome hill, crow by day and by night the whippoorwill. Well, I've been and I was and I am mostly satisfied. Say the little red hen to the little red rooster, you don't come around a chicken shack like you used to. Say the little red hen to the little red rooster, you don't come around a chicken shack like you used to. Well, I've been, and I was, and I am mostly satisfied. I'm gone downtown, my hat caved in, coming back home with a pocket full of tins. Yeah, I'm gone downtown, my hat caved in, coming back home with a pocket full of tins. 'Cause I've been, and I mostly satisfied. You're my baby, you're the one. Throw your arms around me like a circle around the sun. Yeah, you're my baby, you're the one. Throw your arms around me like a circle around the sun. 'Cause I'm satisfied, tickled too, satisfied just to be with you. Country on a high lonesome hill, crow by day and by night the whippoorwill. I used to live in the country on a high lonesome hill, was the crow by day and by night the whippoorwill. But I've been, and I was, and I am mostly satisfied.
Subscribe to The Blues Kitchen for live performances and interviews with the hottest blues, soul, country and roots musicians in the world today.